Hey everyone, it's Dr. John Heary back with you again with another special edition, talking about your health. Today, we're gonna talk about an extremely important topic, and maybe it's a topic where you never made the connection between the two, but we're gonna talk about obesity's connection to cancer. Now, about 30% of the world, of the worldwide population is overweight or obese. That means they have a body, a BMI or a body mass index greater than 30 for adults, and that equals obesity. So worldwide, obesity is also responsible for about 5% of deaths on an annual basis. In one report that I read recently, it said obesity is driving an estimated 500,000 cancer cases annually. Two-thirds of obesity-related cancers, that includes colon, rectum, ovary, endometrial cancers occur in North America and Europe. Women have the highest risk factor and are developing obesity-driven cancers almost twice as often as their male counterparts. If this trend marches on, the experts think that roughly half of the world's population will be overweight or obese by the year 2030. This is going to drive cancer cases up at an absolutely amazing, alarmingly rate. You know, and you got to ask yourself, how can these two occurrences be linked? Well, the global dietary tendencies help to paint the picture that connects obesity rates and cancer cases. In developed countries, the average citizen consumes a diet filled with processed foods. On the contrary, in developing regions, food choices that are traditionally more natural are the norm for them. Obese women in developed nations, they account for about 8% of all cancers. By contrast, these same obese women, from developing countries only account for about 1.5% of cancers. And when we look at men, obese men in developed nations accounts for about 3% of all cancers. In contrast to obese men from developing countries, it's only about 0.3% of cancer cases. One of the factors that we also need to look at and take into account are the costs, that come in from lost work, higher healthcare costs, lower productivity. Costs they add up to about $2 trillion on an annual basis. Now, this currently comes in right next to global cost care, for smokers, and just below the global cost of war and terrorism. If people would, start to take ownership of their own bodies, from healthier eating and exercise habits, stop smoking, the collective cost savings, would be staggering. It would come down quite a bit. Now, obese patients would, see the return not only, in lowered healthcare costs, but also in overall productivity as far as work goes, as far as, family relations goes, um, things that you can do now. Um, the best news is that, this is something that each person can single-handedly fight the battle of the bulge, prevent this problem from, from becoming even more catastrophic. Just a couple things you can start doing, eating whole organic foods. It's only an average daily cost difference of about $1.50 per meal, versus non-organic eating. And that's a great place to start. When we clean up our food supply, it lowers the amount of pesticides and genetically engineered ingredient exposure, that comes into our bodies. Don't forget, to include the right percentage of healthy fats within the diet too. Most people, need to bump up the healthy fats quite a bit. And this can include, eating avocados, raw nuts, seeds, organic eggs, coconut oil, just to name a few examples of these healthy fats. Olive oil. Also, choosing grass-fed meats can make another big impact on your body's weight balance. And this is due to the fact that in these meats, we can avoid pesticides, hormones, antibiotics, and other drugs as well. Two important supplement options that exist as well too. Taking omega-3, increasing omega-3 intake, from fish oil. Um, that also helps to keep inflammation down. Make sure that you have good gut flora support. For example, like Biodophilus. That can also be extremely beneficial for strengthening the body's response to inflammation. The probiotic support will also contribute to a more predictable elimination schedule. So, this in turn is going to help control weight by keeping the system running as cleanly and clearly as possible. Um, no discussion of obesity and cancer would be complete if exercise and vitamin D weren't covered. So exercise, it's great, when it comes to lowering insulin levels. This in turn promotes weight loss and can even discourage growth and spread of cancer cells. So a beneficial exercise program should, focus on strength training, cardiovascular work, and then also make sure that you do spend time on mobility, on balance, on flexibility. The scientific evidence shows that specific levels of vitamin D supplementation and sun exposure can help to keep blood levels optimal. So if the patient is currently being treated for cancer, then a blood level between 80 to 90 nanograms per milliliter is recommended. You can do a simple web search and the connection between vitamin D levels and obesity. The last I checked, it showed 6.4 million hits in just a quarter of a second. Um, there's certainly enough reading material, for many new studies to take root. My goal and mission is to help people live their lives in the healthiest way possible. And if it's been a while since you had blood testing done, maybe it's time that we check your scoreboard, see where you're at. And by testing, a comprehensive blood panel, we're able to determine what type of dietary changes, what vitamins, what minerals you may need in order to optimize your health. So, you definitely, get tested today to find out, where to start and to know exactly what to do and also what to take for better health. So, well, I hope you guys, learned something today. And until next time, my friends, we'll talk soon. Bye now.